So, liebes MyRevelations-Volk, wir sitzen hier im Tourbus von Devin Townsend und Devin Townsend Project. Die sind gerade auf Sommertour und machen gerade Halt im Luxor in Köln und ich bin super froh, eins meiner großen musikalischen Idole, Vorbilder, Helden, Heroes, einmal interviewen zu dürfen. Zu Fotos kam schon, mehr war da nicht drin. Und nach so langer Zeit im Music-Biz staunen sich einige Fragen an, aber ich wollte heute einfach eine kleine Retrospektive machen. So Devin, I just told our viewers that I'm going to do a little retrospective because you are now in the musical landscape for about, I don't know, over 20 years. You started as a lead singer on Steve Vai's Sex and Religion, and after that you did a lot of musical stuff on your own, as a producer too, but today I just want to talk about your musical experience as a musician.
Sure.
And you can just, I give you just like the names of some albums, and you may say something about it, whether you like it today, whether you do something completely different today, or maybe a favorite song on it, or maybe a little anecdote we don't know about.
Sure, yeah, no problem.
Nice. First of all, because it was my initial and it was your first record as a solo musician, it's Biomag with Ocean Machine.
Ocean Machine. Ocean Machine was a record that I had tried to get signed prior to its release in many ways. I had been signed to Relativity Records several years before that, and I'd been recording that music. And it turned out that it didn't work. The initial recordings weren't particularly good, and Relativity didn't choose to put it out. And then Roadrunner Records wanted to put it out, and also in the 11th hour it didn't come together. So Ocean Machine ended up being put out by myself through Sony in Japan, and I started my own record label as a result of that. But the music is something that had been around for a while. It wasn't a quick write. It was something that had taken a long time. And I think that's, if I have anything to remember about Ocean Machine that makes it important to me, is it's one of the few opportunities I've had in my career to take my time on a project. Typically, the genre that I'm in is not particularly lucrative, so you have to continuously make music to sort of keep afloat and keep everybody paid and what have you. And Ocean Machine, and I think Casualties of Cool were the two records that I have not had to rush, so I remember that from it.
Okay, it's true that the porno label had to cut the video for life?
Like the former label? No, I did it myself.
The internet lies.
Oh yeah, no. It's the video for life was a horrible video. I mean, we did it at a porn studio. Like
okay.
A friend of mine owned a internet porn thing, and they had green screen, so we went and did it there, and that's a terrible video. But I think that's 20 some odd years ago, so my memories of where we were yesterday are cloudy at this point.
You mentioned Japan as a release. The song Japan, is it like a tribute to this time?
Yeah, I think when I was with Steve Vai, our first experiences in Japan, because the Steve Vai record went gold there, was my first sort of taste of what it meant to be famous. And I think I was very insecure at that point in my life, and I think that taste of fame was very intoxicating for me. So I think in hindsight, Japan became important to me based on just ego gratification. Didn't realize that at the time, but in hindsight, very much so. So I wrote a lot of things about Japan and spent a whole bunch of time in Japan until, it kind of went sour. But I think that's also a good thing, to sort of see it with the real eyes as opposed to sort of the fame goggles was good for me at maybe 24, 25 years old too.
Okay. Punky Brewster, cooked on phonic.
Yes, sir.
Tell us something about that.
That was actually the first record, even before Ocean Machine. Yeah, cooked on phonic. That was just a sort of a joke record, but I mean, I think the thing about Punky Brewster, if I'm to remember back, is I really like making sort of like an audio story. I like that. I think it's great. So actually, the new Z2 record is really close to Punky Brewster in some ways. It's a lot less about, you know, spacey sort of stoner shit, and much more about sort of a silly story, right? And so Punky Brewster was technically the first record I ever released. It's a horrible sounding record with a bunch of, you know, average songs, but
nice sing-alongs.
Nice sing-alongs, sure. But I had a fun time making it, and it's another record that I don't think ever really got released, but it's pretty cool. I'm glad you heard it.
Yeah, I got it. So don't miss anything. Infinity.
Infinity was when I decided to start taking acid, I guess, and you know, psychedelic drugs, and Infinity was the result of that. I think that
sometimes you hear it.
Yeah,
like
for
ants.
Sure. Yeah, well, I think even less than Ants. I think, you know, songs like Truth and War and Unity and things like that. It was a good moment for me, because I think I'm fortunate to have people around me who were very willing to tell me that I was full of shit at that time. And without that, I think I would have been lost. I think there's a lot of people that get into those sorts of psychoanalysis periods of their life through those types of drugs and just are lost forever. You know, you get stuck in a metaphor or something like this. So the fact that I managed to get through that period of my life, write about it, make the mistakes involved with it, and come out the other side with my friendships primarily intact, was, I think, what made that record a success. I mean, I'd have to say that nothing I've ever done, I think, is it's not like I don't think it's good, because I do. I think it's accurate, but I've never been satisfied with anything I've done. I mean, it's all experiments, and it's all full of mistakes. Like, even the recent stuff, you know, I'm like, well, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. I like that, I don't like that. But I think the point with me in music is much less about the songs and more about where the songs come from, and like what the thinking behind, you know, the genesis of these songs were. So Infinity was a very important period for me, because I just made just a ton of embarrassing personal mistakes, and I've got a record that's very congested, that is connected to some of that in ways that I think is, you know, really accurate.
But I guess you learn from the mistakes, and
totally.
It can't be wrong to struggle for perfection.
No, totally. Well, that's it. I think that's my biggest problem, is I'm such a perfectionist, but I'm so far from perfect that you're just never going to be happy, right?
Wouldn't that be lame?
Yeah, it would be.
Perfect.
It'd be computer music, right?
Yeah. Physicist.
Well, Physicist was, I think Physicist was an apology.
For the Infinity?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think that's like legitimately what the lyrical concept of that was about. But I also think I was exhausted at that point making Physicist. So several elements of that record I got other people to do in ways, in hindsight, I probably should have done. Like, I had somebody mix it, and I didn't spend a significant amount of time on that record in ways that I had on Infinity and what have you. But to be fair, I had just come out of this period that was traumatic for me, and so I think the fact that there's a record at all with Physicist is a bonus. And there's several things on Physicist I actually quite like. There's some songs in there. Planet Rain, I think, is a really good song. Yeah, but I think some of the other ones, Kingdom. Yeah, there's some other ones that I would never remember. You know, Irish Maiden, or, you know, things like that. There's things that each one of these records have things that were like significant moments, and then just other songs maybe just were floating around at the time, right?
Yeah, one of my favorites, Terrier.
Terrier, yeah, that's a good record. I like Terrier. I think the thing with Terrier, though, is there was a part of me that felt like I had really phoned in Physicist. I had really not gone as far with it as I felt I should have. So I used Terrier as a way for me to not only redeem myself for physicists, but also it became a real passion for me. It became something I could really get a strong focus on. You know, each one of my records has to have a theme in order for it to be accurate, and sometimes those themes are either not as obvious or they manifest themselves differently halfway down the line. You know, Z2 is an example of that. But Karriere, from the very beginning, I was like, oh, it goes like this. This is how it sounds. This is what it goes like. And so the completion of that record was satisfying to me. Again, not every song on there is memorable to me, but there's some moments of it in the record overall that I think is very a very satisfying one for me.
In my opinion, it's full of hits.
Thank you. Thanks,
Very,
man.
very
Well, I think that's the thing too. Is it's you know, my goals are always to make things better. I think you know, if I was to sit and tell everybody that I think everything I did was awesome, then you know, there'd probably be not a lot of places to go, right? But
something went wrong.
something definitely went wrong. Yeah.
Okay, accelerated evolution.
Accelerated evolution was poorly received because it came after Karriere, and Karriere was so vast in terms of overdubs and things like this. But I think what I tried to do with Accelerated was try and make a linear, more rock-oriented record that was a very particular color emotionally, and it came off of a tour that I did in Korea where there was emotional experiences that occurred there that inspired me on a lot of the songs. But it was also written and recorded at the same time as SYL.
Oh.
You know, exact same session. And so one of them had to suffer, and the one that suffered was SYL, as far as I'm concerned. So Accelerated Evolution is sort of an odd record in my catalog in that I don't remember it often. You know, when I think back to the music I've done, I often forget about Accelerated, right? But there's a couple of songs in there like Deadhead and Storm and Away that I actually quite like, you know. It's just, it was a very, the color of the album cover, you know, like sort of steel and white and blue and all that stuff. That's what it sounds like to me, you know, this sort of cold but emotionally sort of vulnerable sort of statement, I guess.
Right. You mentioned Strapping Young Lad. I guess every record after City just could lose.
I think there's that, although I would say that the most memorable one for me is Alien.
Really?
Yep.
So let's talk about for Strapping just for a minute. I know you don't you
no, I got no problems
up with this chapter, but
no problems at all. I'm very proud of it.
Can be.
Yeah.
Should be. Your favorite Strapping album is Alien. Why?
Because I think I pushed it too far, and there's a sound of that and a lesson in that creatively for me that is similar to Infinity, I guess. And I don't know, it's just, there's certain pieces of that record musically that I was very proud of. Although City was a much more effective record in many ways, City was not as interesting to me musically as, I guess, you know, Skeksis or Zen or Shitstorm or anything like that. So, you know, Alien was the one that I'll remember. Is it the best? I mean, it's debatable, but it's the one I'll remember, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Syncastra. I don't like it that much, but tell me something about Syncastra.
Syncastra was written at the same time, recorded at the same time as Alien. And I think in the same breath where Accelerated Evolution and SYL were written together, Syncastra was meant to be, I guess, more of a human record as opposed to Alien being really, really dark, right? And I haven't listened to it since. I haven't listened to that record since it was done, essentially. But I like it. I think it's in the scheme of records that I've made, it's not one of the ones that I dislike. I actually quite like it, but sonically it's very poor, and but there's elements of it that I found very satisfying, you know what I mean? But again, that's also, it was at the same time as Alien, and Alien won that one hands down, so.
Okay. Ziltoid, wie hieß die?
Oh yeah, Ziltoid. my wife and I had just had children, and I quit doing drugs and drinking, and Ziltoid became a way for me to express the part of me that I no longer felt comfortable expressing with strapping. But it also gave me a chance to sort of objectify that part of my creative process and put it into something else, into a puppet or what have you. And everything I do is an experiment. Everything I do. Everything I will probably ever do is an experiment. And it's always stream of consciousness as well. I very rarely plan anything. So Ziltoid surprised me as much as it surprised anybody. And continues to, as I have to finish the second Ziltoid record today. But I like the concept. I like the idea of writing music for some outer space thing. I think it's really cool. I think it's freeing to be able to do, crazy, notes and modes, and then articulate them together so it's a bunch of puzzles that have nothing in common with each other, that are kind of forced to play together, So Ziltoid was a really important one for me. I did it all myself on a drum machine, and it cost me very little to make that record. And it's even now it's something that I'm still doing, right?
The Key Addicted Deconstruction Ghost quadrilogy.
Yeah.
Because we're running out of time, I guess.
Sure.
I have to
Key of those records, Key and Ghost are my favorite. Again, it's not individual songs, it's what they represent. And Key was something that I spent a great deal of time getting ready for. And Ghost is something I had wanted to do forever. And so those two records I think are really cool. And I like Addicted. I think Addicted is cool.
love it.
Thank you. Thanks, man. And then Deconstruction is... it was the point I think I was trying to make with Deconstruction. I rarely listen to it now, but I think it's a good point. And in a sense, there's a lot of Z2 that reminds me of Deconstruction. But
for example, playing Planet of the Apes on Wacken opening.
Yeah, fuck, what the hell. Oh well. But the thing is, I hadn't thought about the show, so all of a sudden we're playing. I'm like, well, I guess we've got this one. So
real festival song, like you mentioned.
Geez, man, whatever, I'm an idiot. Oh well, live and learn, right? Yeah, Deconstruction is. I think it's an accomplishment more so than a record. Yeah.
Okay. Then we go to the newest record, and finally we're there. Epic Cloud. I like it.
Thanks, man. Epic Cloud is a record that I was really uncomfortable with because it was too easy to write. It was just,
Can be it flows naturally. Think about Paranoid from Black Sabbath. The song was made in about 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, Epic Cloud took me no time to write. It took me a long time to record, but it was easy. And I think when I put it out, I felt a bit of guilt. I was like, oh god, okay, here's this. Of course it goes. It's like, of course, that's what those chords do. But I wanted to try that. I thought it would be a cool experience, right? And it was. I like it.
Sometimes it's simple things.
But again, what I had to do was I had to find an emotional angle to come from on that record that I was going to be able to explain. So I think the idea of making a positive statement in the face of negativity, either world negativity or personal negativity or what have you, was what that record ended up being about. And if you look at it from that point of view, I think it was really successful in a sense, right? I like Epic Cloud.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what can we expect from Ziltoid Part 2 coming out soon?
Well, Ziltoid 2, I just finished Casualties of Cool, which is another one. And Casualties of Cool is a record that I am probably more proud of than any record that I've done. But
it's very relaxed.
No one will hear it. Yeah, it's sort of creepy and quiet and not very exciting. But it's exactly where I feel like I am right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just sort of creepy and quiet and not very exciting. But so Z2 was something I had to really try to make. And the last times that I had made two records at once, whether it was Accelerated Evolution and SYL, Alien or Synkestra, something always lost out. And so on Z2, the DTP record I think isn't as strong as the Ziltoid record, but it's still good. And I found an emotional angle to come from on both of those records that make them, I think that's really, really cool stuff. I think that it's stuff that you've heard from me before in some ways, but it's a summary to a period of time that includes Key all the way up to Epicloud and Casualties. So I think that the story and the puppets and the orchestras and all this stuff, I think it's a very enjoyable listen, and I think there's a good chance that people who are maybe teenagers will really like it, like younger teenagers, because it's, you know, farting monsters and aliens and stuff, right?
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for the support, my friend.